all the dignitaries on the dais, Chairman, CEO, Vice Chancellor of Delhi Skill and Entrepreneurship University, Professor Niharika Vora, the faculty of Soundarya Institute of Management and Science and Soundarya College of Law, and most importantly, all the graduating students and their parents, good morning to all of you. First of all, I'd like to congratulate all the graduating students for successfully completing their undergraduate or their postgraduate degrees. And today you begin a new chapter in your life. Graduation is an extremely important day because all of a sudden, not only are you graduating from your BA, BCom, LLB degrees, you're all of a sudden graduating from being a young person, from being a teenager, from being a child. You are now graduating to being an adult. And now the expectations, the responsibilities that people look upon you with also begin to change. And I think that is the reason why the graduation ceremony is such a momentous day. I congratulate the Soundarya group of institutions for giving such a bright, intelligent batch of young people into the country. It is, for the last 20 minutes, I was listening to many of the speakers, the student speakers, and it was an honor to see the confidence, to see the brightness in their eyes, to see how much they have learned as students here, and to see the eagerness with which they are now wanting to go out into the world and contribute to the country that we live in. As all of you step out into the world, I'm sure all of you have many dreams. I think many of you might already have got admission into higher education institutions. Many of you might already have jobs. At this age, young people have many dreams. Dreams about what kind of higher education degrees we want. Dreams about what kind of jobs we want. Dreams about what kind of car we are going to buy. Dreams about whether I'm going to buy a new iPhone with my first salary. I dream about what kind of house I can get when I'm able to pay the first EMI out of the salary that I get. These are often the dreams that many young people carry at the time that they graduate. And yes, these are all important dreams. All your efforts so far, from the time you have been in school, from the time you've been in college, all the effort that your parents have put in to bring you so far, all the work that teachers, principals, academicians, administrators have done to bring you to this point. But I think that it is also an opportunity to think of another dream, a dream for our country. All of you are graduating in a very special year. All of you are graduating in the 75th year of Indian independence. And I think that makes you an extremely special batch. As we grow up, as we go to school, as we go to college, we are so used to the independence that this country got 75 years ago that sometimes we forget the value of what this independence means. This time on 15th August, somebody whom I know because a lot of people share their stories, experiences related to nationalism, patriotism on Independence Day. Somebody I know had posted a story on Facebook that I wanted to share with all of you. She shared the story of her grandmother-in-law, basically her mother-in-law's mother. Her mother-in-law's mother was a freedom fighter and spent many years in Lahore jail, imprisoned with many other freedom fighters. So when this lady's mother-in-law went to meet her mother in Lahore jail, she smuggled the Indian flag and took it to her mother in jail. And in August in 1945, all the freedom fighters who were imprisoned in Lahore jail hoisted that tricolor through the chimney of Lahore jail. And So when I read this story, I was thinking that how many small and big sacrifices were made for our country to get independence. How many small and big sacrifices were made that young people like you can get the opportunity to have a good education, to have a good life. But I think as we celebrate this 75th year of Indian independence, we must celebrate the fact that we have come so far in 75 years. But I think we also have to ask many questions. In the 75th year of Indian independence, we must ask, why after 75 years does every child and every young person not get the kind of educational opportunity that all of you have got? We just need to open social media and we can see photographs of schools all across the country where children are sitting on the floor in broken classrooms with no desks, with no drinking water, with no toilets. Every few months we read newspaper stories about some villager who needed to be carried 20 kilometers on a charpai because they did not have access to adequate medical care in their vicinity. Every few months we read stories about how someone died because they did not have food to eat. We hear about young people committing suicide because they were not able to find a job for themselves. 75 years after India's independence, we all need to ask, why do we still have such instances in our country? There are so many other countries that got independence after India did. Singapore gained independence 15 years after India, and yet today is more developed than India is. Japan was destroyed in the Second World War. We all know about the nuclear bombs that were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And yet, despite that, today Japan is one of the world leaders and one of the most developed countries in the world. Germany is another country that was destroyed in the Second World War. If you visit Germany today, if you go to their capital, Berlin, they have still preserved so many buildings that were bombed in the Second World War. That entire country got wiped out in the war. And yet today, they are a developed country. When I was your age, when I was studying in college, when I was studying in school, our economics textbooks used to talk about developed countries, developing countries, underdeveloped countries. And we used to be told at that point of time that India is a developing country. And when I was in school, our textbooks used to say that by 2020, India will be a developed country. Today we stand in 2022, and if you were to pick up any of your textbooks, even today they will say that India is a developing country. Why? Why after 75 years is still India left behind? This is a question that we need to ask. There is no reason for India to be left behind. Today, if you were to see across the world, Indians are probably on the most successful positions across the world. Today, some of the CEOs of the biggest companies in the world are Indians. The CEO of Twitter is an Indian. The CEO of Google is an Indian. The CEO of PepsiCo International is an Indian. The CEO of Chanel, the biggest perfume company in the world, is an Indian. And yet, India is left behind. Today, if you were to go to any hospital in any of the biggest cities in the world, if you go to London, if you go to New York, if you go to Paris, you will find that some of the senior-most doctors are Indians. If you were to go to some of the biggest engineering companies, if you were to go to software companies, you will find that the most successful engineers, the most senior engineers are Indians. If today you were go to some of the leading research laboratories, if today you were go to some of the most cutting-edge research institutions, you will find that the leading scientists are Indians. So if we have the best engineers, if we have the best doctors, if we have the best business persons, if we have the best scientists, then why is India not the #1 country in the world? This is a question that we need to ask. And I think it is time, in the 75th year of Indian independence, that we all have to take responsibility for this. Otherwise, we all think, when we read about the freedom struggle, when we read about Mahatma Gandhi, when we read about Bhagat Singh, when we read about Baba Saheb Ambedkar, we think कि वो तो कुछ अलग तरह के लोग थे. But they were also ordinary people like you and me. But they at some point of time in their life decided that somebody has to do something for the country. What if Bhagat Singh had said at the age of 23, कि first let me settle my career, get a good pay package, then I'll start thinking about the country? Would India have got independence? No. What if Gandhi ji had thought, let my children first get a good education. Let my children settle down, let me marry off my children, then I will think of the country? Would India have got independence? What if Baba Saheb Ambedkar had thought that let me set up my own law firm, and on Saturdays and Sundays, I will contribute to the country? Would India have got independence? No, it wouldn't have. And so just as Mahatma Gandhi, Baba Saheb Ambedkar, Bhagat Singh thought that we have to get independence for this country, it is time that all 130 crore Indians need to come together to decide that we are going to make India the #1 country in the world. That is a pledge we have to take in the 75th year of Indian independence. And as all of you pass out and graduate and step out into this world, I think every day of every month of every year, we need to ask ourselves this question, that what are we doing to make this country #1? Because if all of us keep thinking कि भाई ये काम तो कोई और करेगा, ये काम कोई politician करेगा, ये काम कोई social worker करेगा, ये काम कोई teacher करेगा, ये काम कोई principal करेगा, we will just keep passing the responsibility to someone else, and maybe 25 years later, at the 100th year of Indian independence, we will still be discussing why India is still a developing country. So the responsibility lies with each one of us. And today, as you pass out from this institution, you just took a pledge of honesty, of contribution. We must also take a pledge in our hearts today that it is our responsibility to make India the #1 country in this world. Thank you.